And it's all about the magic numbers this time of year. But the magic number for us here on First Pitch is just whatever we can get you to the counter with a winning ticket. And we do it each and every weekday here on First Pitch, powered by WagerTalk TV. And joining me, we got a hell of a Friday crew for us. Dawn Buster, Bryan Leonard, and Rob Veno getting you on the right side of the MLB card. If you appreciate the content, all we ask you to do, hit that little like button, hit that bell, and that's all we ask before you head on over and check these guys out at WagerTalk.com. But we got a show to get into before that, gentlemen. And Don, let's start with you. Let's talk a little O's and Guardians. Somehow, Guardians kept the, I'll call them futile postseason hopes alive. They got the 5-2 win yesterday. I think they can do it. It's Shane Bieber on the mound today, or the O's going to stick a knife in that one. How are you betting this one?
Well, Dan, we like the Orioles here to bounce back tonight after losing that first game of the series. Kind of a little surprised, like I was last week when we had a total on a game and it dropped and we bet it over. It went over, so that was good. Surprised that Cleveland, I see, are favored. I looked kind of about 130 there, and they're actually a little bit of a favorite now. Baltimore was a very small favorite right this morning. That means we're getting a great price, in my opinion, to back Baltimore. That's for sure. Dean Kramer goes for Baltimore, and he has been solid of late. He's had his last 5 starts. Will go. He has allowed 1 run in 2 of them, 0 runs in 2, and then he did get beat up by St. Louis. So 4 of his last 5 starts have been quality, and that's what you need for the Orioles this time of year as they're fighting for that first place in the AL East. Again, I really like thing about Kramer too. One more thing, he pitches better on the road. He's got over a 1 ERA better on the road than he does at home. So that goes for him again tonight as well. The Guardians will send, as you said, Dan, Shane Bieber to the hill. This will be Shane's first start since July 9th. Always like going against pitchers in that first start, basically because, for the most part, they do tend to struggle a bit. But the pitch count, how many is he going to pitch tonight? 70, 80, probably tops. Maybe not even that much, maybe even 60. Depends on how things go for him. And the last time Shane actually faced the Orioles, pre-injury in July, on May 31st, he allowed 7 runs in 4 innings. So it'd be kind of nice to see that kind of game tonight for Baltimore against Shane, that's for sure. And again, I just think the situation Baltimore's in, they always seem, after a loss, to fight back. I like them to do that. And as you had mentioned, Dan, Cleveland is basically eliminated. They lose one more game, or Minnesota wins a game, and they're done. So they're done. So just a little bit too much to like with the Orioles here, and I cannot believe the price we're getting. So let's go Orioles.
Yeah, and the price, as Don says, has only gotten better. So rocking with the O's against the Guardians, sticking a fork in it once and for all. Bryan, what the hell? DB didn't know that you were going up right behind him, and he's telling you your Guardians are already eliminated. I mean, it's basically a formality, but brutal stuff out of him. Bryan, what the hell?
Yeah, well, Bieber, I just want to let you know, Bieber's supposed to go about 80 pitches today. McKenzie's coming back tomorrow. He's limited to 60. But if you do any live betting, Trevor Stephan for the Guardians, he has been horrendous as of late. Anytime he comes into a game, just bet the other team to score. I've never seen a reliever being this bad for that long. And he actually got the win yesterday, giving up 2 runs in 1 inning. But it's something I've been doing. When he comes out of the bullpen, I'm betting the opposition.
A nice little free live play potential from our man Bryan Leonard. I love the breakdown. But let's talk about the game you actually planned on, and that is the Jays and the Rays. And Rays, I mean, they're still sitting that game and a half back in the AL East. Just talked about the O's there. Buster said he thinks they get the job done. So do you think the Rays maybe keep pace as they're trying to keep up there?
Yeah, a lot of big games going on this weekend and for the last week of the season. And this would be one of them. The Jays sit basically half a game out of the wild card. Tampa Bay's 1.5 out of the division lead. Tampa Bay pulled it out in late action against the Angels yesterday, and looking forward to this series. In fact, looking forward to the rest of the regular season baseball here. Should be a lot of fun. On the season, the Rays are plus 196 in run differential. Jays come in at plus 69. So even though the Jays are still in contention, it's been a little bit of a disappointing season for them, especially offensively. Some of their bigger bats haven't performed. Chris Bassitt, who I believe is an Akron University graduate, and that's where I went. He's been a bit fortunate this season. He has a 3.78 ERA, which is pretty good. But if you take a look at his advanced stats, his xFIP is 4.44, Sierra 4.43, and his BABIP is only 272, which you don't normally find this late in the season after you've thrown 185 innings. He usually tends to go towards that 290, 300 area. So he's been a little bit fortunate, and he's going up against a team right now in Tampa Bay that's a very good hitting team. And one thing that really sounds out to go against Bassitt here, he's allowing 1.94 home runs per 9 inning when he pitches on the road. And as I mentioned, this Tampa Bay team, very good hitting team. In fact, I think they're leading or in second place in the American League in home runs this year. So very good hitting team. Tyler Glasnow has fared very well since returning from his long injury stint. He has a 1.09 whip, 3.53 ERA. If you take a look at his advanced stats that show anything that is a bit unfortunate, he's actually got a 2.82 xFIP, 3.10 Sierra to prove that out. So as good as he's pitched, he's even better than that. So we got two guys, if you take a look at their advanced stats, going in different ways here, and that's what I like to do. Tampa's pulling out all the stops right now. They just brought up their best minor league option. So they did lose Wander Franco. He may never play again in the major leagues, but they brought up the new guy, and he's a 20-year-old. He's been a star in minor league baseball, and he's going to take over the shortstop position, and those guys are going to be really good in the middle of the infield, even better than they are right now. So I don't usually like to lay favorites, but I think this is a cheap line here with Tampa with the far better pitcher on the mound in playing at home. And they also had that new information where they're going to be staying in Tampa for a while, getting a new stadium built there in St. Petersburg. So things are looking up for Tampa, and I think they get this victory here.
Brian looking towards the Rays in that one, in a big game indeed. You have any big games that you're eyeing and have some best bets in them? Hop below in the comments and let us know. We got best bets coming your way in just a few moments here on First Pitch. So while you're hanging out, hit that like button and hit that subscribe. We appreciate it. Rob Veno has our final look for the big game breakdown. And man, the D-Backs sitting firmly in that second wild card spot in the NL. 2 games ahead of the Cubs and the Marlins in that race. So they staying in the driver's seat tonight. They get a win as they are visiting the Yankees in the Bronx. What do you think, Rob?
Well, we're going to play them that way. We're going to lay what is a very, very short price here. $2, $4, $6, whatever you find. Just get the best of the number here. A couple of reasons, Dan, why we like Arizona in this game. Going to, first of all, fade Luke Weaver, right-hander for the Yankees, who's made a ton of stops across Major League Baseball over the last 5-6 years. But one of those was at Arizona, where he threw for 3 years. Arizona knows a thing or two about Luke Weaver. So I think that they'll be very familiar with him here. Luke Weaver, when you just go through pitching metrics, he ranks in the bottom 21 percentile in all of Major League starters in barrel percentage, chase percentage, ground ball percentage, strikeout percentage, bottom 32 percentile in hard hit percentage. So you can see a lot of contact there, and a lot of contact versus Luke Weaver in this game suggests Arizona will do pretty well because they're the 4th best contact team in Major League Baseball. If you go by strikeout rate, Arizona strikes out the 4th least of any team in Major League Baseball this year. Offense has been hot as of late, 6+ runs in 4 of their last 5. You could say 6+ in 5 of their last 5, but the 7 runs they scored against the Cubs, 4 of those came in extra innings. So we'll stick to 9-inning regulation here and say 4 of the last 5 they've gotten 6+. Brandon Pfaadt, the starter for Arizona here, a young pitcher that they called up midway through, has pretty decent stuff, getting his feet wet, so to speak, in the major leagues. 4 of his last 6 starts have been very solid down the stretch here. Now, for Arizona, you've been involved in this wild card race for quite some time now. So he's been pitching in meaningful wild card race type games. In those 4 where he threw well, it's 23 and a third innings total with just 5 runs allowed. And 3 of those 5 came in 1 inning. 1.93 ERA, 1.03 whip in those 4 starts. I like the fact that he bounced back last Friday in a huge game at home, huge series against the Cubs where the Diamondbacks performed really well. But he had come off a pair of bad outings, one against the Dodgers, who seemingly hit everybody in Major League Baseball, another against Colorado. But the bounce back effort was really nice in a big game against the Cubs, 5 2/3 of scoreless baseball. So I like him here. I don't know that the big stage is getting to him at this point in time. And he's got a potential advantage against the Yankee lineup. Not only have the Yankees faced Brandon Pfaadt, but the Yankees and Diamondbacks hardly ever play. I think when I looked back, it's been since 2019 since these two have played a series. So the first couple times through, you'd expect Pfaadt to have a little advantage over the Yankee lineup. And let's talk about the Yankee offense real quick here for a minute. 2 runs or less in 3 of their last 4. The beat goes on for the Yankees, who haven't been a good offensive team all season long. But their 211, their current 211 September batting average, if the month were to end right now, it would be their lowest monthly batting average of what's been a horrible offensive year for them. The 357 slugging percentage would also be a low. So the Yanks not really hitting the baseball. Arizona, what's key to me is they had a day off for travel yesterday. It gave their bullpen a full day of rest. And believe me, this bullpen, other than Kevin Ginkel, shaky at best. We're going to play full game, but they have been shaky outside of Ginkel. And Paul Sewald, the closer that they acquired from Seattle, Earl Weaver used to call his closer back in the late 70s, Don Stanhouse. He used to call him 6-pack because you would need a 6-pack of beer and cigarettes to get through a 9th inning with this guy. And it's about that way with Paul Sewald, but he's come up good in all aspects so far in September. He's been asked to close out 9 games. Arizona's won all 9. I think if he's asked to do it again here, he'll do it. So we're going to play Arizona at the cheap price, -102. I think was the best I saw.
Yeah, and that one's climbing up as well. So run, don't walk if you're looking towards the D-backs in this one, according to the WagerTalk live odds screen. All right, Don, let's talk a little best bet action here on the show. And make sure if you're tuning in, hop below in the comments and let us know your best bet on the evening. We love chopping it up with you down there, whether you're watching live or on the replay. We appreciate you tuning in and making us a part of your day. But best bets, we talked about the side here. But as I mentioned, the WagerTalk live odds screen is looking like we got 7.5 painted across the board for the Blue Jays and Rays game going tonight. So you want to look towards this total. Which way we going, Don?
Well, Dan, yeah, we like this one over. And just like I said, like last week, we had a game that we thought the number came up short. And we believe so here that this 7.5 comes up short just because of what is going on with these 2 guys right now, these 2 starting pitchers. And with these 2 teams, both looking to get, well, Tampa Bay's in, but Toronto looking to get into the playoffs, Tampa Bay trying to get the AL East #1 spot. And they both have very good hitting clubs at times this year. Again, Chris Bassitt goes for Toronto. And we just have not been a big fan of Chris's, bottom line. And one thing, Chris does pitch much better at home. He's actually pitches a 1.5 runs better at home than he does on the road. On the road for this season, he has a 4.64 ERA with a whip of 1.44 in his 15 starts. Now, the last time Tampa Bay got a chance to get their whacks at Chris, he allowed 6 runs in 6 1/3 innings. My friend Mr. Leonard and myself would like to see a similar game for Chris tonight. That is for sure. Tyler Glasnow goes for Tampa Bay, and when the calendar turned to September, Tyler's started to have some trouble. He has a 5.48 ERA in 4 September starts. And maybe one problem for Tyler, and we mentioned this a bunch of times on the show, especially from about mid-August until probably every week now that we're on here every Friday. He's going on the verge of pitching his most innings ever in his career. The most he had ever pitched, you got to go way back to 2018, where he pitched 109 innings. Right now, his most was 111. He's at 109 now. Sorry, I mixed those two numbers up. And he's at 109 now. So he's going to get over that mark. But the problem is, in September, he's been really bad getting close to that mark. So we kind of expect the same there. So as far as I'm concerned, these two teams can both hit the ball, like the over, 7.5 here. We think the numbers come up short, guys.
Over the 7.5 Toronto, Tampa Bay. That's our best bet for Don Buster. Check him out at WagerTalk.com. All right, Bryan, let's take a look again at this Arizona and Yankees game. I don't know if our man Rob Veno left you much meat left on the bone to break this one down, but you're in agreement with our man Robbie V?
Yeah, you stole my thunder there, because both Robbie V and Mr. Buster both do a very good job of breaking down the game. So I'll try to find something here to talk about that Robbie hasn't. But yeah, Arizona is one of the youngest teams in baseball. They're in the playoff race a year earlier than I think many expected. Diamondbacks have set themselves up to be good for a long time, especially with so many young, talented position players. They just need a little bit more pitching. Brandon Pfaadt, as was mentioned, he was brought up earlier this season. He struggled out of the gate when he's brought up the first couple times, but now, which happens very often with young players, they get their confidence and they're a totally different pitcher. And Pfaadt's been that way. After his first two call-ups, he's really pitched much better as of late, and he's been a huge strikeout pitcher in the minors. We haven't really seen that in the pro level yet, but I really expect him to, once he gets into the pros and gets comfortable, I think he's going to be a major strikeout guy, and somebody, if you're into fantasy baseball, will be somebody that you'll want to have on your team. As was mentioned, Luke Weaver just hasn't been the same pitcher as of late. Injuries have hurt him over the years, and he hasn't bounced back like the Yankees had hoped. He enters play with a 1.61 whip. Let me say that again, a 1.61 whip and a 6.77 ERA. His advanced stats are much better, but he's still someone we're not getting in line to bet on. He's allowing 2.8 home runs per 9 innings in Yankee Stadium. Close to 3 home runs in 9 innings at Yankee Stadium this far into the season. Things are looking good. I would assume that the Arizona Diamondbacks hitters are chomping at the bit, especially as Robbie pointed out. This is a guy that they know pretty well because he played with them for a while. So looking for a big game out of Arizona. I think this is a popular play. You mentioned the lines are going that way. Yeah, let's grab this one now, because by the time this game goes off, we'll see probably Arizona about a 120 favorite here. So grab Arizona now. If you can get them at plus money, great. If not, we can lay the 105 or whatever's out there right now. But I like this Arizona team, and the Yankees just playing out the string and what has been a horrendous season, especially health-wise, for the New York Yankees.
Yeah, well, now it makes sense why we see this line continue to tick up. Both Bryan Leonard and Rob Veno are looking towards this one, so definitely run, don't walk if you want to be back in the Arizona D-backs tonight, because I'm with Bryan. That was the number I had in my head. You're probably seeing this one close closer to minus 120, so get ahead of those line moves and grab it now. All right, Rob, you're going to get the final best bet for us today. Not only of the show, of the week. So no pressure, man. But I'm looking here at the live odds screen. Minus 235, the consensus money line odds, as the Astros are hosting the Royals tonight. And might be just what the Astros need, is having the Royals come to town. Because before that rally against Baltimore, I'm sure you'll get into it, it was 13 out of 18 they had lost at home. So maybe having this Royals team, just what the doctor ordered, though it didn't work out that way the last time they faced off. How are you betting this one, Rob?
Well, I'll tell you one thing about how I'm betting. When you have the same side as Bryan Leonard, don't get in line behind him. Otherwise, the line moves drastically on you.
Never.
Price. So, make sure you cut right in front of Bryan if you ever see him in line and you have the same side. I'm going to play Houston, Dan, and you're right. They have been so dramatically different for some unknown reason. They win like crazy on the road. They haven't been that way at home. It's a first place team that hasn't done well at home. However, I'm going to take them here full game run line. This price was relatively cheap, $1.05. You only get the 8 at bats, but still, there's some reasons here. And let's just start. It's kind of a twofold play on Framber Valdez, the starting lefty for the Houston Astros here, who's absolutely on fire right now. Last 5 outings, 5 quality starts by definition. 7 innings pitched in 4 of those 5. The other one was 6. But overall, the numbers over his last 5 sound like this: 34 innings pitched, a 1.59 ERA, 0.94 WHIP, 30 strikeouts in those 34 innings, and only 2 home runs allowed. The Astros are 4-1 in those 5 games. All 4 were wins that covered the full game run line. Valdez has also been dominant against Kansas City. Now, he hasn't faced them a bunch in season here, but this year, just go back to last weekend when the Royals had won the first 2 games of that series. It was Valdez who stopped the bleeding. Showed up last Sunday with 7 innings of 6 hit, 1 run baseball, 0 earned, by the way, in that game, 5 Ks and 1 walk. Last 3 times he's faced Kansas City, it's been a 2.29 ERA for Valdez, 1.08 WHIP. So he's been pretty good against them. He's been really good as of late. Kansas City's hot too. Can't ignore them. 7-3 in their last 10, but I just don't like the matchup for various reasons. First off, they didn't fare well against Valdez 5 days ago. Just mentioned the 7 innings that Framber Valdez threw. Kansas City's bullpen, when they get asked to enter the game, they rank 28th in WHIP, 29th in ERA, 29th in hits allowed, 26th in home runs allowed, 27th in walks allowed. So you don't have a lot of good things happen once your starting pitcher, in this case Reagans, leaves the ball game. Those numbers figure to give Houston plenty of opportunity in the back half of this game for more scoring, increased margin. And the biggest problem for Framber Valdez, like many Houston pitchers here, and I'll put Christian Javier in this boat, is walks. These guys walk a lot of players, a lot of hitters, but Kansas City just doesn't walk that often. They rank 29th in Major League Baseball out of 30 teams in walk percentage. So I think this makes it a good matchup for Valdez, like he proved on Sunday. That AL West battle is heated, to say the least. 3 teams, within a half a game of each other. Houston has the lead right now. Their magic number is 10. I don't think they're too worried about magic numbers at this point in time. They're more worried about capitalizing on this series, while the other 2 teams are off playing their own series, and maybe stretching out the margin here in that division with 3 games against the Royals. And off of the Baltimore series, we don't call for letdowns a lot in baseball, the way we call for letdowns in a football game, in a basketball game, mainly because these guys play every day, and the letdown factor really doesn't work an awful lot here. Certain situations it does, but you would think that off of Baltimore, maybe Houston would let down. But when you lost 2 out of 3 to Kansas City last week, I think they're going to be well aware of what's coming their way and ready to play in front of the home crowd here. The head-to-head series, if you think Houston's going to win the game, then you want to be on run line. Last 6 times Houston's beaten Kansas City, 5 of those covered the run line. That's 83%. I think you want to play full game here simply because there's a big bullpen edge for Houston. Framber Valdez has been red hot. And this line, to me, just seemingly low at 105. So laid the price here, Dan, -1.5, -105. Full game, Houston Astros over KC.
Laying the spot for our man Rob behind the scenes with H-Town is the best bet for Rob. Veno, Don looking towards the over in the Toronto and Tampa Bay Rays game, and Brian with a double like alongside Rob Veno on Arizona taking on the Yankees. That's a money line play. If you appreciate the content, make sure you hit that like button and hit subscribe. And I know, Buster, you love it when I say it. So on the way out, make sure you hit that little bell and subscribe here, because we got all the tools you need to bet all the sports you love only a click away right here at WagerTalk TV.